The thing that I think is uniquely Cbeebies is the fact that we have that educational thread, but we're fun first.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kids Media Club podcast. I'm Andy Williams.
I'm Emily Horgan, and this is
me.
Yeah.
Welcome along. I'm Jo Redfern, and we're delighted to welcome two guests from BBC Children's today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So over to you first, please, Kate.
Hi. I'm Kate Morton, and I'm the Senior Head of Commissioning for Cbeebies.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joe McCulloch. I'm an executive producer. I'm the executive producer of Cbeebies Parenting, and I also look after other services such as Tiny Happy People, which is now part of Cbeebies Parenting. Hello.
Amazing. Thank you. You've teed me up for my first question there, Joe, because we've just read the announcement about Cbeebies Parenting. And one of the questions that I asked just before we went to recording is, what is included now in Cbeebies Parenting? So there you go. Let us know what is included in Cbeebies Parenting, this new service.
Well, it's been an amazing opportunity to build on the success of Tiny Happy People, which is obviously all about kind of giving parents kind of tips and advice around developing the speech and language skills of their kind of preschool children. And what we're finding is that we were kind of expanding, so we're kind of moving just outside of speech and language. So there's a massive opportunity there to kind of bring in other aspects of parenting life. You know, we know that there's a need for it because parents have been telling us that. So we thought actually we're in a really good position to kind of bring Tiny Happy People under Cbeebies and really kind of build a whole ecosystem which really kind of helps to support parents and carers, you know, from when they kind of decide to become parents right through to when their little ones start school. So it's a really kind of good opportunity to create this whole community, online resources, social media, physical resources, the whole gamut.
And am I right in remembering that Tiny Happy People originally came out of BBC Education?
That's right, yeah. So we're all part of the same department. So BBC and Education is yeah. And so the decision was made just to move it onto Cbeebies to give it that kind of really strong kind of identity as part of the Cbeebies family. So that's what's happened.
I mean, Cbeebies is so well trusted, and we've always worked with experts on all our content because that's what the BBC is there for, is to support and build that community. And we're just wanting to empower parents and carers to help their children learn through play. So whether that's learning about really important things, like, playing with your toddler, taking them out and enjoying the big wide world with them in terms of, going to the park, crunkling leaves, all of those really straightforward things that are about trying to encourage parent and child interaction in a really positive way. Tiny Happy People has been doing this for a while, really successfully, as Joe says. So this is just us building on that and really putting a spotlight on it. So things like potty training and school readiness, which are obviously massively important. And we've all, read about reports and heard about issues with children starting school not being ready. So this is where we're wanting, with our experts, to, try and be that support.
I'd love to understand a bit about like how you see Cbeebies' unique voice in the space, because it's it is a challenging space. There is a deluge of influencers, blogs, etc., that you can turn to as a new parent, some more helpful than others, and it's difficult to kind of wade through what is good advice and bad advice. So like, what is the unique proposition for Cbeebies within this space when there is so much competition as well?
Well, I think as Kate was just saying about kind of Tiny Happy People, we've already had such a load of success with that. It showed that we were kind of fulfilling a need to support parents with developing speech and language development, preschoolers, with our resources. So we're thinking, why has that worked so well? I think the fact that we have made a commitment there to being rooted in evidence, working with experts, working hand in glove with the experts to make sure that our resources are kind of trusted and reliable. And we did that to such an extent that we've been endorsed by loads of important bodies, such as the Royal College of Speech and Language Therapists and the Institute of Health Visiting. So we've got that kind of credibility already with tiny people. And as I said, we're starting to grow into other areas. Then on the CBeebies side of things, we've always worked with experts for our entertainment content on CBeebies. So it felt like a real natural extension to create a fuller parent offer beyond speech speech and language that will be reliable and trusted. Felt like there was a bit of a vacuum to fill some of the misinformation that's out there for parents. And we know that parents want it. We recently did a kind of a survey of over 3,000 parents across the UK, and 75% of them said that they would really love to use an online platform that offers kind of tips, advice, and tools to support them. So we know that the audience need that trusted kind of support, and that we're in a really good position to do that because we've got so much trust with CBeebies brand.
And how do you cultivate that back and forth with that audience and kind of really kind of build that community?
Well, with Tiny Happy People, we worked, like I said, hand in glove with our experts to make sure we had the right content. And it's always been like a collaborative thing. So we're doing exactly the same thing with CBeebies parenting. We've got quite a few different ways that we're kind of cultivating this back and forth. So first up, we've got a new podcast, which is the Parenting Helpline, which is presented by Holly Hagen-Bright and Charlie Hedges, available on BBC Sounds or where they put your good.
Great plugging, Joe. Great plugging.
And basically, in each episode, parents call in with their parenting dilemmas, and then we've got experts on hand to answer those questions. So great back and forth kind of conversation starters going on there. We do physical events in Asda stores because Asda is one of our partners with Tiny Happy People, and now with CBeebies Parenting. So we've got those. We put on family events in family hubs around the UK. And at these events, we kind of do stay and play sessions, but we also bring together local services like health visiting, speech and language therapists, and we sprinkle a bit of CBeebies magic. So on those events, there's a real opportunity there to interact with the audience. We've also got our live CBeebies summer events coming up as well, and we've also built a really strong community on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, which we did with Tiny Happy People and now CBeebies Parents. And that was an opportunity for parents to kind of find out what they want, when they want, and we do a lot of back and forth there. And just to finally say that we've launched the CBeebies Parenting WhatsApp channel as well. So there's lots of opportunities for back and forth.
One of the things that I always really liked reading, both when I worked at BBC Children's, but then since, was the CBeebies grown-ups kind of social media chats. Some of those were really great. And again, it plays back to that trust that you mentioned, Kate, in terms of, sharing the potty training disasters, sharing the embarrassing moments, when you get on a bus and your toddler says something inappropriate. But actually, that was one of the almost earliest instances, again, of this. How can we have this two-way conversation, not just with our audience, but the parents of our audience, knowing that a lot of them do look to trusted names for advice and just to share funny stories. So that feels like something that you're really trying to build on and nurture here.
Yeah, absolutely. We also did, we've done some research of, I think it's 3,000 families, and 75% said that they would use an online platform backed by trusted experts like ourselves, and those that we work with. So, there's absolutely a need there. And CBeebies Grown-Ups is a fabulous community. And that's now part of CBeebies Parenting. And it's also, I think it's really important that it's real. This isn't about saying there's a gold standard and this is what you're achieving. This is about the real people, and our being in, a support for our audience, whenever they need us.
I mean, that love of the audience for CBeebies has always been there, right? Like, it's such a jewel. I always remember that like Reddit thread I went down and people are like, license me this, I don't listen to radio, that, blah, 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 blah. And then somebody said, "Yeah, but like Cbeebies." And then it was the one thing that actually could unite Reddit was the love of Cbeebies, the value of Cbeebies, and like just impossible to say a bad word, and that's quite an achievement to unite the internet. How do you approach the responsibility of that, of commissioning for Cbeebies and making content choices for the audience that holds you in such high regard?
Well, I mean, we're privileged to serve this audience. I think that's the most important thing. And it's content that's got to be culturally relevant and enriching for our audience wherever they are in the UK. But the thing that I think is uniquely Cbeebies is the fact that we have that educational thread, but we're fun first. So it's fun and silly, but also, reflects who you are, where you are. And we're bringing things to our audience like, beloved characters that have been passed down from child to child, from families. And, we know that there's a lot of competition out there. And we don't take the task lightly, but we love what we do. And I think it shows in the content that we support from indies right across the UK, but also internationally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it feels like there's, amongst discussion in the industry, there's a bit of a moment here for public service broadcasters to be holding space. Sorry, not to go all Cynthia on you, but to be taking up space in making content commissioning swings, because some of the big global players, commissions from them are in decline or are challenging to get. Whereas public service broadcasters, you've got an established audience, you've got established platform, and you know the need to double down on content. I mean, would you agree with that? Is that something that's charging your thinking about the commissions that you're making right now?
We're very aware that whilst some of the streamers, their commissioning is down. We saw from the Kids Screen 2024 list that BBC Children's was the #1 global commissioner, which is a lot of pressure, I think. And it's not because we've increased, it's because other things have fallen away, and our commitment is steady. We're committed to reflecting our audience and serving them, and to reach as many as possible, to make certain that our slate is diverse, and that we challenge ourselves. We're not wanting to continually sit within one appropriate box that we think, oh, that's Cbeebies type. So we have made a lot of really exciting choices, working with lots of different partners. And Cbeebies Parenting, I think the launch of that is another really exciting and brave, I suppose. I think, that we've done these content before in lots of different places, as you were talking about, Joe. There's a lot amazing resources that the BBC Children's and Education have, and we're really wanting to put it together to make certain that people can find it.
And yet you have a generation of parents now who grew up themselves across Cbeebies and CBBC. So it feels like almost a natural extension that you would broaden the remit to say, okay, we've got a space for you too. We've got some stuff for you too. Your kids are now watching Cbeebies, and the likelihood is that you also used to watch Cbeebies when you were younger. But now we can help you through this parenting journey, which I think is a really interesting way of thinking about Cbeebies as a brand, because Cbeebies as a brand is trusted, as we've spoken about. But actually, although the core audience is preschoolers also have parents, and Cbeebies is the space where the two of those actually connect, probably more than.
Yeah, definitely. Just to kind of build on that, the Cbeebies parenting side of things is got some really good commission opportunities. We just talked today about the relationship between the parent and child. We've got an opportunity to kind of commissioned content, which is really good for co-viewing. So our kind of commissioning approach for CBeebies parenting is kind of two-pronged. So we've got the brand extensions that we're going to be doing with kind of more educational titles like Yakadee. But there's an opportunity there to make it right for digital and to show parents how you can use the programs and sit there with your child and pull out the learnings from them, and then kind of do kind of activities after you finish watching it. And so it's kind of a co-viewing experience. But then we've also got kind of content that's really exclusive just for parents. So it is the things that are on Tiny Happy People. It's the the non-branded content in areas such as speech and language development, but also mental health support for parents as well. So that might be kind of films, articles, or even hard copy resources, as I mentioned earlier. But we're really open to ideas as well. So people kind of go on and onto Cbeebies parenting and think, well, actually, there's some areas we think that you could kind of create content around. Let us know, because we're really open to it. So we just launched the service. We've got a plan. But this back and forth that we're talking about earlier on, with our audience is really important to make sure, as we did with Tiny Happy People, that the content we're creating is what people want and they need. So there's a massive opportunity here. We're really excited about it.
I would say it remains very local. It remains very UK centric, the parenting offering. Obviously, I was in preparation for this, I was trying to jump on from over here in Ireland, and was met with redirection and stuff like that. So it's a really and I understand, obviously, public service broadcaster, your remits to the UK, but because it sounds like such a great offering for parents worldwide, I guess, would there be any ambition to look at a more global approach with this?
I mean, I think at the moment we're just launching Cbeebies parenting here in the UK, and our focus as public service is to support the UK, and to make certain that I think that's one of the things that's really distinct, is that obviously there's a lot of this is linked to the UK curriculum, so the early years framework as well, so that we're really supporting parents so that they are fantastic shows like Number Blocks, Alpha Blocks have made such a difference to children, so that they're starting school already having a really good grasp of what numeracy is. And so we're really wanting to make certain that this feels distinctly UK, rather than at the moment thinking about a wider international audience.
That's interesting. And just circling back on when you talked about the content that you're looking to commission for the parenting extension, what are you looking for there, and how would that process work for an outside company to come to you with an idea for that content?
So we'll be putting out kind of tenders for the things that we're looking for. At the moment, you can find those on the BBC Education portal, because that's where people are used to coming for Tiny Happy People content kind of opportunities. So we thought we'll carry on kind of posting through there. But also people can come to me direct. You can come to us direct as well with kind of their suggestions and what have you. So it's a slightly less formal process than the process for kind of the linear TV channel, because we're kind of doing we want to have that kind of back and forth a lot more and co-develop things. So we're just looking for. I mean, the room is pretty wide. I think we're good for speech and language, because we've got Tiny Happy People. We've got kind of nearly 1,000 pieces of content related to speech, language, and communication, and parent mental health as well. But other areas around school readiness, we're going to be really kind of focusing on that. So we're really interested in ideas around school readiness. We have got some content that we've got. Some really nice branded content as well with Hey Dogging, which is going to be really nice, which is going to be delivered very soon, and hopefully we can get that up over the summer. But yeah, any other areas around parenting, it really is that broad. So that's the beauty of it. And we're starting here, but we'll just expand incrementally to fill those gaps that parents and carers feel that.
And I guess bringing tiny, happy people and all of that kind of content together under the Cbeebies banner, as you alluded to, actually, then opens up the sandbox in terms of playing with all those characters that are so known and loved, rather than keeping them separate under the tiny, happy people brand.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. There's massive opportunities there. So, we are kind of embracing those kind of wholeheartedly. So again, I was talking earlier on about the kind of the digital commissions with Yakadee, Hey Dougie, Number Blocks. There's those ones. I mean, some of the content is much more entertainment focused, but in terms of child development, for those, there's a big kind of array of content which would be appropriate for us to kind of link tiny happy people with. So we're going to be doing that over the kind of months and years.
Yeah, it makes sense. And speaking a little bit about that entertainment focus, Joe, because the Cbeebies stable of content has broadened, I'd say, over the last 5 years. With shows like Coco Melon, Spidey, and His Amazing Friends being obviously not British shows at all, US based shows that have come on. I mean, what's been the thinking around those shows hitting the service?
Well, I'll just jump in here, Emily. I mean, basically, our mission is to bring parents and carers to Cbeebies. So we know we are interested in content that has a wide fan base. Particularly, we know that some parents and families are going to YouTube. They're not going to any other services. And so it's really, it's a choice for us to say, well, actually, looking at what is successful and has got a lot of those values that are in alignment with what we're doing is to cherry pick and go, well, actually, Spidey is a fantastic adventure series for little ones. It's I was very pleased that we could bring it to Cbeebies. It's done really well. It fits with a lot of our values. Yes, it's Spidey and His Amazing Friends, but our audience is not in a walled garden. We know that they're playing.
Spider-Man exists.
Spider-Man exists, and we're very open to the right shows. We don't see things that are commercial as necessarily being a negative. In some ways, commercial just means successful,
and not mutually exclusive either in terms of what the BBC Children's mission is. Like you said, it's got to be fun, and fun is important too. Fun learning is important, but also is having fun.
Yeah, and I think Cbeebies is all about learning through play. It's not about play through learning. And I think it's really important that we know that we've got a great mix of content that has real strong educational threads, but we also have daft, silly, giggle along with your mum and dad and your big brother and sister content, which is all about community, which is all about creating, wonderful shared moments. That's very, very Cbeebies.
You said earlier about some of the surprising shows that you have on Cbeebies. Is there any particular show that you're looking for that would surprise our listeners in terms of the type of show that you're going after?
Well, I just think in terms of the breadth of content is what I mean. When you think that we go from things like the Panto to the Prom to Hey Dougie to Squirrel Club, our latest bedtime show, Cbeebies, is a new addition to our much loved and trusted and relied on bedtime hour. And we know that, doing changes in that kind of sacred space is challenging, I think, for some parents. They're used to one thing coming up, and then it's like, oh, what do you mean it's different? My toddler relies on, but there's a new show in town. And I'm pleased to say, actually, we get audience feedback reports each week. And they're not always positive, but the first audience comment that I've seen for Cbeebies is someone saying, thank you so much We just caught that with my 2-year-old, and it's such a lovely new addition. Can we have more episodes, please? So for someone to actually write in takes is really lovely. But yeah, in all seriousness, I think we've got to reflect our audience. So when I say surprising, is things like, our new commission of Balamory, which we're filming later this summer. And the other thing is our new podcast that Joe was talking about, Cbeebies Parenting. That isn't what people would have expected for us to have Radio 1 DJ Charlie Hedges and Holly Hayden Blythe as our celeb mums, having a right laugh, but also sharing really honestly the trials and tribulations of parenting with toddlers.
Yeah. It's, I'm just thinking back to when, Cbeebies bedtime hour, I think it's fair to say, is like the nation's crutch when you've got little kids. Goodness me, how I relied on it, and as a parent. And I remember even working there again when the schedule changed, even though it might be a small change, there would be a slight panic for a couple of weeks until, things settle back down again. Such was its importance. But let's touch on, we've said obviously Cbeebies and BBC Children's doesn't exist in a vacuum, and it does exist in a world now where YouTube is increasingly important to preschoolers and parenting and for everyone. So how do you address YouTube now? How do you use it in terms of serving your audience?
Well, we're building the Cbeebies presence on YouTube because that's where the audience is, as I said. We're taking the values and what makes Cbeebies so special and trusted, and building YouTube first content that speaks directly to the audience to engage them. We know, for instance, Miss Rachel on Netflix, is doing really, really well. But that's American content, and there are slight differences. So this is us using our much beloved Cbeebies house presenters. So like Evie Pickerel or the amazing Justin Fletcher. And now I'm, so excited that we managed to get the most amazing ambassador for children's, who's Baroness Floella Benjamin. So she's going to be on this Cbeebies House Digital First Commission. And it's, going to be a little nod to our heritage, but also anyone who was at our Cbeebies parenting launch and caught a glimpse of Floella when she turned on the most amazing presentation skills, you're like, oh, wow. That is how it's done. She manages to make you feel that you're just in a room just with her, just by the fact that she just looks at you and talks. She's utterly fantastic. And it's that intimate connection that I think we know we're excited about. So this will be coming in September. And like I say, it's going to be British content for British kids. So it's using our trusted brands. So we're going to have, straightforward, fun games like What's Missing, counting games, etc., nursery rhymes, all that stuff that is really educative, but in that intimate way where you feel that the presenters are really just there in your living room, encouraging you to sing along, play along, and learn.
I think I published the receipts on Miss Rachel last week in my newsletter about how well she's done on Netflix. And in researching that, one of the key things that came through was that intimacy, that FaceTime approach, rather than it being, hello, I'm in the studio, a pan left. That FaceTime approach is actually engaging and has the educational value because it's keeping kids along with you.
But there is interesting. Sorry to jump in, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because that parasocial connection is what has made creators like Miss Rachel or whomever, the Sidemen, so popular, but it's interesting when you use it in conjunction with what the Cbeebies brand and the content on the channel is, because it gives you two different opportunities, as you said, Kate. You can have a much more, a much closer connection, which delivers information and entertainment in a different way to a studio or setup.
Yeah, I mean, we've also got our new magazine show, Playtime Towers, which is just launched as well, which is more of a full-on inventive play machine, I would say. You know, it's really about encouraging playfulness. And if you've not had a look at that, I think that would be well worth a look at, because we've just launched that, and we've got a whole pile of really fantastic characters, which are just bonkers, to be honest. And I think there's something about children's content that can lead you in directions that is just so fun. And yes, of course, there's educational elements there, but it is just all out crazy fun. And Playtime Towers is all about imaginative play. Whether you're going up in the lift with Bella, who's this amazing elevator host. She's an operator, yeah. And it's a magic lift, so everything's buzzing and going and all the rest of it. Or you're going for arts and crafts fun with sketch, or having fun in the imaginative kitchen of, I mean, I with Kingsley and Queenie, who are just full out crazy time. So I think it's about that mix of, as you say, Joe, the impersonal, simple content that we know works and that parents love, but also really inspiring our audience's imaginations.
Yeah. There is, talking back about the digital first commissions there as well, there is, though, a little bit of a tension there, because, like you say, YouTube is where kids are, but YouTube is a global platform, and you kind of need to behave in a global way on YouTube to have success on YouTube. We know this. And yet your local remit is so specific, and that can sometimes, spill into, the rights and all that kind of stuff. Like, how do you manage to navigate that tension? Because it's maybe a little bit unanswerable. Do you have the answer?
Well, we know that in order to make content work, it needs to be global on YouTube, and there's room for us to coexist with our partners in that space to meet our objectives. We know, as public service broadcaster, it's our responsibility to deliver for our audience, but we recognize that partners that we work with, indies around the UK and globally, they have to fill the gaps and deliver advertising perhaps on their services and have commercial elements in their content. So it's about a partnership, and we work very collaboratively with that. And I think we've got a lot of great examples where we've been working with partners for quite some time that have had that balance. And we know that we've seen from so many other examples that you can get it so that all boats rise. But it's, for us, attribution is the key thing. Because, we work very closely with all our producers so that they can reach their goals and we can reach ours, which is, it's brilliant that we're working together, but we just want to make certain that our audience knows that, this is BBC commissioned content. So we need to have that attribution there. But we do find increasingly that having that attribution is a real bonus for our producers as well, because it's like the gold standard. It's a real stamp of quality.
And when you talked about the examples where you felt that the balance really worked, what are some of the specific examples of that where you felt like that balance worked properly there and you kind of were happy with how that worked?
I mean, as Joe was saying, we've got great shows like Yakadee, Number Blocks, Alpha Blocks. Bluey is another fabulous one that we're really happy to have and work alongside. Mr. Tumble. We have a Mr. Tumble YouTube. We also have, obviously, he's, huge icon for our audience. So it's about a balance. It's across a wide range. Bing is another fabulously successful. Hey Dougie, again. We are spoilt with the amazing talent that works with us, and we love being able to serve the audience with them.
And all the kind of production companies who are responsible for all of our biggest titles are massively excited about the new offer. So, I'm kind of coming at it in a slightly different angle than the main shows, looking for kind of digital content and seeing what we can make, see if we can kind of pull the learnings out and in a slightly different way and presenting things slightly differently. And, all I've heard so far is just massive positivity. So, kind of all the indies that we work with are really kind of keen to get their brands out there, obviously, but also they're really supporting the mission of us kind of supporting the UK's film side.
That kind of mission is a nice way as we come to the kind of the wrap up, because I think the mission is ever evolving, because the context in which we all operate and we make content for kids is changing. So how would you say that kind of the mission is evolving for Cbeebies and Cbeebies parenting, given that, things are moving so fast?
I mean, I think our mission, it may be evolving, but it always stays the same. And it's about having the mind space to have the audience first. And I think that is what Cbeebies and Cbeebies parenting does. And that is what, us as our public service remit is why we're a bit different, perhaps from some of the commercial operators who have other targets in mind. That is our focus. Audience first. And there isn't another one. So in a way, we have to adapt. And that's why we are bringing change, because our audience is the earliest adopters of any change. It's remarkable how children learn, whether you're talking, multilingual households, adapting to change in terms of changing environments, changing schools, the big changes that children are going through from that we're focusing on with Cbeebies parenting, in terms of, learning to walk and talk, becoming your own person, choosing what you like to wear, choosing what you want to do, and getting, absorbing the amazing things that the world is bringing them. That is, there's nothing greater than the amount of change that is going on in a child's brain from 0 to 5. So it's no wonder we are trying to make certain we adapt and keep up with that, really.
And just to add to what Kate was saying about, I just heard Kate talking about kind of brains and brain development. That's something that through Tiny Happy People, we've been able to show kind of parents what actually happens physically in the brain, the science behind development. And actually what we found is that parents, once they know what they don't know, they really engage with it, and actually, so actually, it's a massive opportunity to kind of help parents understand what's going on inside their child's brain, which then makes them engage even more and kind of want to kind of give their child an even better start in life.
But it's entertainment that makes that digestible, right? Like that's the whole key. It's like having two celebrity mums gas about the science of it. It's how you manage to get people to absorb the science of it.
But I think it's the honesty and the transparency as well. We're not doing this from a perspective of please watch X or Y. We're doing it from a perspective of this is what is happening, and we're wanting to be there for our parents and for our carers. So, in terms of Joe was talking about, physical resources, encouraging children and parents to play and talk. We're not just saying Cbeebies parenting isn't about please watch X. It's actually, there's a lot of games, there's a lot of quizzes. It's really an awful lot of focus on that parent-child interaction, because that is where so much is gained, and on both sides. And we're wanting to be a part of that. And bedtime, bedtime story, bedtime cuddle, all of that is all part of that. So that's that's really the whole focus of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to trust, doesn't it? Really, it's that Cbeebies has so much trust with parents that as a brand, it has that permission to kind of move into those different areas and have those conversations.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us and talking about all things kind of Cbeebies and tiny happy people and Cbeebies parenting. Congratulations on the launch. I'm going to look at Andy now because he's the expert in doing the wrap up.
Okay, I'll do the wrap up. So that's a wrap for this episode of the Kids Media Club podcast. A huge thank you to Kate and Joe for giving us a fascinating look into Cbeebies' commissioning process and the incredible work they're doing supporting parents through engaging and meaningful content. Join us next week for another episode, and we'll see you then.